Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're a first time viewer, you're welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much. Today we are going to be learning how to draft the basic skirts. And for this tutorial, we'll be using waist of 32 and hip of 40 and length 22 for this basic skirt. So first off, we are going to be drafting both the front and the back bodies on this paper. So what we are going to do is we are going to divide our hip measurements into two so we can mark out the front and the back. So our hip measurements, we'll be marking with the largest measurement, which is the hip, and our hip measurement here is 40. 40 divided by 2 is 20. So we are going to be measuring 20 here, and we are going to divide it into 2 to mark this line. So we are going to be using this side for our front, and we're going to be using this side as our back. So for this back, 1 inch. So we are going to be using this for our zipper allowance for the back. So now, like I said, this is our baseline, which we'll also be using as the waistline. So from this waistline now, we are going to mark out our hip line and skirt length. So for this tutorial, I'll be using 8 inches for my hip length, my hip depth, and 22 inches for the skirt length. So I'll be marking the same measurements on the front, 22, and then I'll be joining the horizontal line. So these are our waistline, these are our hip line, and this is the skirt length. We already have we have 10 inches here. We have 10 inches here, which is our hip measurement. So we are going to be starting with the front I'm starting with the front part. So for this front part, this is the center front, this is the side front, this is the center back, and this is the side back. So we are going to take our waist measurement starting from the center back. We have hip of 32, and 32 divided by 4 is 8. We are also going to mark 1 inch for our dart. So we are connecting from here to the hip. So we have taken our waist measurement. The next thing we are going to do is to mark out the dart, and for the dart we'll be using our point to point. So the point to point for this tutorial is 7.5 inches, and when we divide 7.5 inches by 2, we'll have 3 and 3/4. 3 and 3/4. So that is what we are going to mark here. And on this dart that we are marked here, we are going to be taking 1/2 inch on both sides. So on this hip line, we are also going to mark our point to point, which is 3 and 3/4. We are going to join it to this one that we marked here, to the first 3 and 3/4 that we marked here. That is where we'll be taking our dart depth. That's the length of our dart. So we'll connect. So on this line, I am going to be marking 6 inches down. Feel free to mark whatever you want, but for this tutorial, I'll be using 6 inches for my dart length. So on this, it's from this 6 inches line, I'm going to be connecting it to the ½ inch that I marked on both sides of this that point. So you see, our front skirt is almost ready. So now, in order to eliminate every form of fold or rumple around the tummy waist area, what we can do here now is to come down here by 1 inch. Come down here by 1 inch and mark. We'll also, on this side front, will also be going up by ½ inch. We'll join this to this ½ inch, and then we are going to be joining from this ½ inch to this 1 inch that will mark down here. So in order for us to do so, we are going to fold in our darts. We are going to fold in our darts. We'll bring in our curve, and we are going to be connecting. We're going to be connecting from here. So as you can see, our front skirt is ready. Now let's go to the back pattern. So we already have our hip marked out. I already have our hip marked out 10 inches, and we already have our zipper allowance of 1 inch. So from this center front, where we have our zipper allowance, from this center front, we're going to be marking our waist measurement, and our waist measurement is 8. We'll be marking 8 plus 1 inch dart. We're going to connect this point to the hip. So on this back also, we are going to be marking our dart. So for that, we are also taking our point to point, which is 3 3/4. We'll mark it, and we are going to mark the same measurements on this hip line, and then we'll join with a straight line. Then on this straight line, we are going to be taking 5½ inches. Feel free to use any length of your choice, but for this tutorial, I am using 5½ inches. So I'll be joining on this dark leg. I'll be marking ½ inch on both sides. So I'm going to be connecting this ½ inch to this 5½ inches mark, as so. What we can also do here too is to mark ½ inch. To mark ½ inch on this side back. Mark ½ inch. Then from this ½ inch, we are going to be joining to the center back. We are not coming down by anything. We'll be joining on this ½ inch to straight to this center back. So there, our basic skirt skirt is ready. If you want the skirt to be more fitted, or you want a pencil skirt, what you are going to do is measure what you have. Okay, let's start with the front. Measure what we have 10 inches here. You are going to minus 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inches, depending on how pencil you want the skirt to be. So for the sake of this tutorial, I will be using 2 inches. So I have 10 inches on this hip line. So from this 10 inches, I am going to be minusing 2 inches. So on this hem line, this skirt length, I am going to mark 8 inches. Then on this hip line, I'll be coming down by 1 inch. Then I'll connect from this point to this 1 inch point. So for the back, so we are going to measure what we have here, and we are going to minus 2 inches from it. So the 2 inches we are going to minus from what we have on the hip, which is 10. We are going to be reducing it from both sides of the back pattern. So we're going to mark 1 inch here, and we're going to mark 1 inch here. What this does to the back bodies is it gives a bomb illusion. It gives a very nice shape for the back. And then we are also going to come down by 1 inch and 1 inch here, and we are going to connect these 2 points to this 1 inch that we came down from on the hip line. You can actually use a straight ruler to do this. You must not use a curved ruler, but I choose to use my curve to draw it. You see how our back bodies looks. So what we can do is we measure the zip allowance. So from here we are going to be taking back our zip allowance. So then either you leave it as your very basic skirt, or you can change this pattern to a pencil skirt for a better fitting. So that's it with our basic skirt. Thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell so you get notified each time I upload a new video. Thank you very much.